Alright, so this is my first video for my YouTube channel, and there will be more to come, but I had to start this up, and we're going to start with House Republicans in Washington today, and their passage of this new health care bill, which, by all appearances and by everything I've seen, is going to cause significant problems for not only a lot of people in my family, but a lot of people in a lot of families around the country with regard to these pre existing conditions. Now, Obamacare was not a perfect system, it was far from it. But to create these high risk pools and allow insurance companies to say you have a pre-existing condition, we're going to charge you more, and then not truly define what pre-existing conditions are, leaves a lot open to speculation for the insurance companies. Quite literally, if you go to your doctor because you have a cold, your insurance company can say you had a pre-existing condition before you went to your doctor, so now we're going to put you into this high risk pool and we're going to charge you more for your insurance. If a woman is raped and goes to the ER, the rape is a pre-existing condition, so now she gets put into a high risk pool, and that's just ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous, and I seriously hope that the the U.S. Senate will look at this and go, this doesn't make any sense. This is just not going to work. Doesn't matter what you do, it's just not going to work. And we need to start back at square one and go and really look at what are the needs of the people in America. So I'm really hoping that they'll do that. I don't know if there's the strength in the Republican Party or the fight in the Democrats. I'll deal with the two-party system in another video, because that's a video all in and of itself, and the evils of the two-party system. But I wanted to get that off my chest, and now I just read that the Speaker of the House in the Arizona legislature, Representative John Allen, said that teachers, I'm a teacher. Okay, I teach. And I worked very hard to go through school and get my license and do the things I needed to do to achieve that goal of being a teacher. And now for him to come out and say, well, you need to stop expecting a better salary and just go get yourself a second job if you want better things. What in the world is this man talking about? I'm not trying to buy a boat. I'm trying to pay bills. I got bills just like everybody else. I got rent and I got health care. I got health insurance and child care. I got bills that I have to pay. For this man to say, by the way, the 50, 60 hours a week that you're working right now, that's not enough. If you want to have some financial stability, you need to go out and you need to get a second job. My wife's a nurse. Now, she makes more money than I do, granted, and for the most part, we have a moderately comfortable middle class kind of living situation. But for this man to say to teachers around the state of Arizona, which, by the way, has a serious teacher shortage, and their idea of solving this teacher shortage is not to incentivize becoming a teacher by saying we need to pay teachers better and get better benefits and lower the workload a little bit, make classroom sizes a little smaller by having more teachers. Their idea is to say, no, we're going to put a bill through legislation that allows someone to become a teacher without having any formal education in teaching. Teaching is not about, it's not all about knowing the content. I know a lot of different contents. I could teach a lot of different things. But being a teacher is about methodology. It's about pedagogy. It's about knowing how to reach students when they don't want to be reached. It's about knowing how to deal with the student in your class that doesn't want to be there. It's about motivating a student that believes that they have no future, that their future is exactly what their parents had. They can't rise above. It's about motivating that student and letting that student know, yes, if you work hard and you make the right choices and you do the right things, you can do better. You can be better. You can improve on your life. That's what teaching is about. Teaching is not about the money. I don't know a single teacher, and I know a lot of them, but I don't know a single teacher that got into it saying, I think teaching will make me rich. Teachers don't get into teaching to become rich. Teachers get into teaching to have an impact on people's lives and to have a positive impact, be a positive role model, be a positive influence on some young man or young woman's life. That's why people become teachers. But for this man to stand there making the salary he does as a Speaker of the House of Representatives in Arizona, to tell me and my fellow teachers, you need to go get a second job. We're not going to raise your pay. In fact, we are going to flood the teaching market with lower qualified people who didn't have to go to school, who didn't have to have the hundreds of hours of practicum and a semester of student teaching, plus take exams to make sure we knew our content in order to teach it. Instead, we are going to allow those people into the teaching industry, into classrooms, into a point where they are going to impact the lives of hundreds of thousands of young people. And what's that going to do? That is going to lower the pay scale for teachers because you no longer have to have these qualifications to be a teacher. And the fact that this bill is now sitting on Governor Doug Ducey's desk, I urge Governor Ducey to veto this. This is bad policy, this is bad politics, and this is bad for America's future. It's bad for Arizona. It's bad for teachers, it's bad for students, it's bad for parents. It is bad for everyone except for the legislature. Now, in a very short amount of time, the Arizona legislature, the American Congress, elections are coming again. They come every 2 years. And it's time for America. It's time for Arizona. It is time for people to wake up. Stop believing that just because your legislature, your Congress does something, that it is going to be a good thing for you. It's time to hold your representatives accountable. It is time to hold your senators accountable. It is time to hold your governor and your president and every elected official accountable to the job that they have. Remember this. They are not your boss. You are their boss. You have the power. If you are 18 years or older and you are an American citizen, and you have the right to vote, don't let anyone convince you that your vote is wasted or that it's a waste of time. Because in the end, when you do that, when you say, I'm not really into politics, I don't know enough, you're letting someone else take control of your life. And every day I tell my students, I work with students that are disconnected. They're disconnected youth. It wasn't that long ago the students in my classroom were not in school. They did not have a job. They were going down that path that leads to poverty and crime. And I tell them every day, I've got former gang members, I've got former drug dealers, I've got kids that already have criminal records. But I tell them every day, do not allow someone else to control your future. And I say it to you now. I say it to you as I say it to them. Do not allow someone else to control your future. Your future is yours and yours alone. Don't give someone else that power. When election day comes, be at the polls. Cast your vote. Give no mind to what's behind the name. Whether it be an R, a D, an L, a G, an I, or any other party designation. Don't pay attention to the party. The party is nothing but a group of people down somewhere else telling the people that are running for office, this is the platform you need to run on. These are the things you need to say. It is time we force our politicians and those who would seek to run our state and our country to stand on their own 2 feet and come up with something original. I've had friends of mine that have told me, Josh, man, why don't you run for office? Why don't you run for office? Run for Congress, run for Senate, run for president. And I give them all the same answer. In the current American political climate, a man or a woman without original idea, or a man or a woman that has original ideas and doesn't want to be beholden to a single party, doesn't want to be out there and say, I'm a Democrat and I follow all these democratic ideals, or I'm a Republican and I'm a conservative and I follow these ideals. But a person who will look at each and every issue individually and say, this is what I think about this issue. A person like that in the current American climate of politics and lobbying and gerrymandering cannot be elected to high office. And some people say, well, Donald Trump doesn't really toe the line on Republican policies. That's very true. Donald Trump doesn't toe the line on anything, quite frankly. But Donald Trump had something I don't have. Donald Trump had something nobody I know has. Donald Trump has something that 99.995% of this people in this country don't have. He had billions of dollars. He had name recognition. And he had the news channels eating out of his fingertips throughout the entire campaign. All he had to do was call up or send out a tweet, and it was reported all over the news. I send out a tweet, ABC, NBC, Fox, none of them, CNN, and nobody is going to say to me and broadcast my tweet all over the country. They're not going to give me that free advertisement. So as an independent-minded thinker, I don't run for office because I know I can't get elected. Yet. But it is time for the American people to take back our country. It is time for the American people to understand their most basic responsibilities as citizens. And we have a few. Paying taxes, serving on juries, and voting. Voting, I don't consider voting a right. I consider voting a responsibility. Just like I have a responsibility to raise and care for my children, and I have a responsibility to pay my bills, I have a responsibility every time there is an election to vote. I don't care if that election is for county dog catcher. If I don't vote, someone else votes for me. Not because they steal my identity and cast an illegal vote, but if the only people that are voting are the extremists on both ends, the moderates will never be heard. Those of us that like to think independently on an issue will never be heard, because the extremists will drown us out. We can't afford to have our country run by extremists. It will ruin this country. And I love this country. I love my country. I question my government, but I love my country. And this is my country. And I'm going to keep posting. I'm going to keep posting videos. I'm going to keep saying things. There's going to be things I'm going to say that are going to make people uncomfortable. I'm a teacher. I may say things on here that may risk my employment as a teacher because it's partisan. But it's not partisan to a party. It's partisan to getting people to think, to wake up. America has gotten too comfortable. Americans have gotten too comfortable. And we need to start understanding that our country and our government, understand this, your government answers to you, not the other way around. The only way that works, the only way you can force your government to answer to you is to be involved. And it's not only about voting. You got to call your representatives. You got to email them. You got to tweet them. You got to send them letters. Whatever it is you have to do to let them know what you think and how you feel about something. You don't have to agree with my policies. You don't have to agree with how I feel about things. That's the great part about this country. But if you let someone else cast your vote for you by not going to the polls, and you let someone else influence your representative because you couldn't take the time to make a phone call, send a tweet, hit up their Facebook page, send an email. If you couldn't find that time to get involved, someone else is controlling your life. Because eventually, your government is going to do something you don't like. What's your option then? If your representatives don't know who you are, and if your representatives aren't afraid of losing your vote, they don't have nothing to worry about. Because they know the base of their party, those most loyal, which are also those who are most extreme about their policies, those are the ones that are going to vote. Every 2 years, our U.S. House of Representatives comes up for re-election. Every single member, 435 members of the House of Representatives comes up for re-election. Every 2 years. 2018 is the next one. It's a midterm election. They call it a midterm election because the president's not up for re-election. So they call it midterm. It's not a midterm election. It's a full-term election for those representatives. And for the 34 members of the Senate that are going to have to face re-election in 2018. They say that most districts, by a vast majority, most districts and states are safe for their representative or their senator. There's only a handful that can be switched because of parties. And because people vote for the R and the D. And because only those who are the most extreme and most adherent to the need to vote in a midterm election. So get out there, learn about your representatives, and vote. Look, my next video will be on taxes and government spending. I'm going to try to post that up probably in the next day or so. Unfortunately, right now, my oldest has just woken up from her nap, so I got to go take care of her. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.